there's some issues. This is why we do. Your page is not. There we go. There we go.
All right. Good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Eric and Dr. Sakisha Hylick, your marriage and relationship strategist. And we're so excited. We want to welcome you here to our second season of the Marriage Can Win show. And just a reminder for those of you that may be new to this season, this is our Business Blueprint Edition. That's right, the Business Blueprint Edition. And we are so excited that you're joining us. We have been working with couples for over 15 years. And we've been talking a lot about communication. We've been talking about finances. We've been talking about intimacy. But you guys were reaching out and saying, look, Sakisha, because of the pandemic, some of us have switched from 9 to 5 to being full-time entrepreneurs. What information do you have to help us with that? So we are here. We are bringing some phenomenal, when I say phenomenal, I mean phenomenal guests on this season that are going to help you increase your business, increase your bank account, increase your bottom line. We want to help you guys take your businesses to the next level. So for those of you that are concerned that you may have had to transition from out of that 9 to 5 into full-time entrepreneurship, don't worry, because help is here. So tonight, Eric and I have the distinct honor and pleasure of bringing to you a woman who, she really needs no introduction. Her name speaks volumes. But
Yes.
Let me tell you a little bit about Miss Dorothy Wilson. She's an award-winning publisher and editor. She's worked in media for over 30 plus years, and she currently publishes Gulf Coast Woman Magazine and Gulf Coast Weddings Magazine. And she also co-hosts the I See You show. And trust me, we're going to dive deep into that. So I'm sure you guys are like, oh, I want to know some more about that. She's the managing partner of CWR Digital Gulf Coast and is the co-founder of the Success Women's Conference. So I know my ladies are in the audience. They're getting excited and riled up. And they're like, oh my gosh, yes, Success Women's Conference. Now, this conference reaches over 17,000 people at its annual summit. She's the president and owner of D. Wilson and Associates, and it's a publishing and marketing services firm. She's been named an SBA Women Business Champion, and she's one of the top most influential African Americans in the state of Mississippi. Now, I can tell you, I can literally go on and on and on about Dorothy P. Wilson, but I'm going to have her come on right now, and we're going to have her tell you a little bit more about herself, because this is a phenomenal woman. And guess what?
Oh,
It
yes.
is Women's History Month.
It
We are
is.
celebrating women.
Yes, yes.
So, Dorothy, how are you doing? Thank you for joining us.
Doing great. I am so excited to be joining you and Eric today and having an opportunity to chat with your audience, to share with them. This is a beautiful opportunity. You have a great platform. I'm looking forward to learning more about your platform. So I have been in business for myself as an entrepreneur almost 10 years. Now, what a lot of people don't know about me is I actually worked in the media business for 28 years in newspapers and magazines. And so I worked for someone else. And then as newspapers began to draw down, lose share, and many rounds of layoffs kept coming, I really thought I would be the one holding the key and locking the door when the building closed down. I just saw myself as being so valuable. But what I wasn't thinking is that when you wear lots of hats and you're valuable to an organization, you make a good salary. And so if you're the one who is in the seat of having to cut expenses, that type position actually looks pretty good. You can kill a couple of birds with one stone there. And so I was surprised that I made the layoff list back in 2012. But I will say this. God wasn't surprised. And I know for a fact that he is the one who orchestrated every step of that and walked me out of it. About 2 years before that layoff experience, God began to allow me to grow my connections and contacts exponentially. And literally, I remember one time during my prayer time saying, Lord, what are you doing? Because he was allowing me to connect with so many new people. And really what he was doing is he was building my base or my foundation for when I went into business for myself. And so, as Dr. Keisha mentioned, I own several businesses. I do want to mention that my husband and I own a moving company, Mighty Men Movers MS, and we have had that business since 2004. And we have figured out what our roles are in that business. He is the heart behind the business. He is the one that customers just love. He bends over backwards. He's a great he provides, offers great customer service, and our clients just love him. They treat him like family. I look at him sometimes and I wonder, it's like, why are these people paying you money and they haven't even signed a contract or an estimate? They'll just give him their money. But he's that type of person. And I'm the behind the scenes operations person. I'm the fixer. I'm the one who figures out logistics. And if there's an issue serving a client, if there's a problem with the client, then I help with that. So in addition to the businesses that I operate, I also work with my husband in my spare time.
Spare time, what's that?
I know. But you know what? That's a great thing because, we deal with a lot of couples in business together. And it's typically three dynamics with that. You'll have couples where one couple's in corporate America and the other one is an entrepreneur. And then you may have couples where they're both are entrepreneurs, but they have separate businesses. Then you may have couples that are both entrepreneurs and then in the same business. But in all dynamics, there's always challenges because especially when you talk about corporate America and entrepreneur, because the corporate America is so used to having the day-to-day security of a check coming every 2 weeks or however they get paid and the benefits and come with it. But when it comes to entrepreneurship, it's kind of like, well, you eat what you kill and you are in charge of your revenue,
Yes.
So how does that, just right off the bat, how does that dynamic fall with you and your husband?
Okay, so let me talk about that a little bit. One thing I want to mention is I knew that it was time for me to leave corporate America before the layoff came. But like most people, I say it this way. It was like crack and I was addicted to it. And that was that steady paycheck and the benefits that came with that corporate position. And so I think that God knew that if he didn't push me, that I was not going to move. And one of the things that I want to share are some tools today to help those who are entrepreneurs be more successful in their business. Because it's not just about how much money you brought in and how much you took home. There's some things in between there that you must master to be successful in business. And so if there's an opportunity at some point, I would like to share some of those tools or some of those tips that I have. So as far as the dynamics, I think that it really, it comes down to having a really good plan. It comes down to being willing to work as hard as it is necessary by whatever means is necessary. And I'll give you an example with my magazine companies. Yes, I have a sales team of 4 people, but I also am responsible for a sales goal. And with that said, when it comes down to the sales deadline and hitting the targets, you have to really be determined that you're going to hit that goal. You need to understand at the front end how you're going to get to that number at the end of the month. And that is really, really important. I think that too often many entrepreneurs, they think, and I think I started off this way in 2012, they think if they just work hard, it's just kind of like walking out the door and just throwing everything up in the air and say, hey, I hope it lands well. If that is your approach to business, it's going to be very difficult for you to be as successful as you would like. And also, you're not going to have a strategic plan for how to grow the business. And what you can do is over time, you can grow that business incrementally. But when you want to get to the place where it's incremental growth is not enough, you really want to double and triple your revenue, you have to start thinking differently about how you run your business, how you do your business. And for many entrepreneurs, it takes a while, and a lot of mistakes, trial and errors to get to a place or a point where they are really understanding business mastery. That's one of the things that I coach new business owners and business owners who have started their business, but they want to accelerate their growth. They need help with that. It probably took me about 3 years of kicking and hitting my toe up against some different things before I learned that I could not just walk out the door every day and throw it all up in the air and say, I'm going to work as hard as I can. And I hope, at the end of the month, I can pay all the bills and then I can take a check myself.
Yeah. So, based on just listening to you talk and reading your bio, you have visionary written all over you.
Yes.
In terms of business, because when I'm listening to you, you were talking about the fact that you worked like with newspapers and magazines, and now you have your own.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's saying that, you took what you learned, and we have to think about the fact that God puts us in positions where, sometimes, like you said, he's preparing us for what's to come. So you were able then to use that knowledge and experience to launch on your own. And sometimes it's uncomfortable when we are in those positions, and God, we feel like, okay, 9 to 5, a check every 2 weeks, every month, that's good benefits. But God's like, I've got greater that I'm stirring up on the inside of you. That's why I'm putting you in these positions. And then he makes us uncomfortable and says, hey, you have to leave, because if not, we'd stay there. And he's like, if you stay here, you're not going to grow to where I want to take you. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more. You talked about these tools, and I definitely wanted to get into that. But one of the things I do want to ask is, with your platform, you have so many efforts that help propel women forward.
Yes.
Can we talk a little bit about about the platforms? The Success Women's Conference. There's so much to talk about.
Oh, yes.
I am very, very passionate about what I'm doing, and leaving corporate America, it kicked the top off the box for me. Mm-hmm. And it allowed me, instead of working for someone else, it allowed me to begin to work in my purpose and to work in my passion. And I think that during the years I was in corporate America, I really didn't really understand myself well enough. I didn't have a self-awareness of what my why is. I just knew that I was very determined, that I was going to be successful no matter what. But since I have become an entrepreneur, I've had time to really reflect on, why am I willing to work so hard, and why am I willing to give back to so many through things like the Success Women's Conference. And it goes back to my childhood. It goes back to my mother. As a little girl growing up, watching my mother in an abusive home situation. My dad was a great person until he got paid, and he was a weekend alcoholic. He would go on a binge, and he would become very violent. And I watched my mother not be able to realize her fullest potential. She was smart. She had a brilliant mind. People loved her. She had a kindness and a humbleness about her. She was a woman of integrity. She was a fast learner. She could do just about anything. And, she was supposed to be my role model. She was supposed to teach me how to be the woman that I was supposed to be. But my mom was basically trapped inside this box of the life that she lived in. And as I grew into high school, I became an overachiever because of that. It made me want to overshoot the mark. 95 was not enough on a test. It had to be a 96 or higher. And then I attended college and I wanted to be successful there. And then I started my career, was very successful in my career, got married, had 2 children. And at some point I started to ask myself, there has to be more than the life that I have right now. And I really began to seek God for answers in that. And He continued to allow me to be successful. But over the years, I still did not have a fullness of understanding of who I was and what I was meant to do until I became an entrepreneur and I got it. My passion is creating platforms that will amplify the messages of women, to amplify their messages, and creating platforms that will elevate the influence of women. And I do that every day by publishing magazines, by managing marketing strategies and campaigns for all types of businesses, not just women, by through book publishing, influencer book publishing, through private coaching, and also through, of course, the Success Women's Conference. And, we started out with an annual conference back in 2015. Kern Cherry and I co-founded the Success Women's Conference. We had a little over 500 people attend the first year. We were hoping for 250, and now it's grown into a global movement where we are touching women every day. We have the Success Members Network, and we also have Success Nation, in addition to our regular Success Women's Conference page. We had a conference called Woman on Fire back in January. We have a boot camp coming up this weekend. And if you're interested in that, please go to the Success Nation page and click on that and get registered. It's a visibility boot camp. And the goal of that boot camp is to help you get some training. We've got some top level trainers on there to help you get some training so that you can increase your visibility. And see, this falls right in line with what I'm passionate about. It is creating platforms that will amplify messages and elevate influence.
Now, what you're saying is so powerful.
Yeah.
So for all of our listeners out there, one, I want to say thank you so much, Courtney Smith, for joining. And if you're everyone that's coming into the room, please charge it to my head, not to my heart, if I have not acknowledged you personally. Thank you so much for joining. But for our entrepreneurs that are listening, if 2020 hit you hard and you had to shift from 9 to 5, or you're wondering, God, why did I get transitioned from my job and things are not going the way I planned, be mindful. God has a purpose and a plan. He says in Jeremiah 29 and 11, I know the plans I have for you. So be mindful. Sometimes there are certain things meant for seasons. You're in that job for a season. I was a pharmacist for, it's been almost 20 years, but God had to remove me from that job because I got comfortable with those checks every
Of course,
yeah.
Walking. It was crack, I know.
It was, yes, it took an act of God, and literally I had to start experiencing challenges in my health where I physically could not go back to work. And then God has allowed me to be able to transition now full time into walking in my purpose and being able to help couples and being able to transition even to understanding entrepreneurship even the more. So we are going to definitely make sure you have your pen and your paper handy, because as Dorothy is dropping these tools, I hope that you are taking notes. Because if you think about it, one of the things she said earlier was that God was growing her connections and her contacts. Sometimes you wonder why you are in these situations, but take advantage of it when there are these huge networking opportunities, when there are these conferences.
Right.
2020, there were full of virtual networking.
Yes,
virtual networking conferences, and they're continuing throughout 2021. Get involved, start growing your connections, growing your contacts. People are out there that are willing to pour into you, and there are others that you are called to and you're assigned to pour into them. Take advantage of these huge opportunities that are in front of you to help take your business to the next level. And that's one of the purposes for these shows, to help you increase your business, increase your bank account, increase your bottom line.
Yes.
We have to learn to create our own economy. This 9 to 5, corporate job thing is no longer a guaranteed
I know.
entity. So
That's
let's
it.
be mindful of it. So I really, you started also talking about having a plan.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
be mindful. I want to say this to all of my believers. We have to have faith in God, but we have to be willing to do one thing: act. ACT, action changes things. Your business blueprint, your business plan is not gonna fall out of the sky.
That's
The
right.
millions of dollars don't fall out of the sky. You are going to have to put some actions behind your faith. So I just want to encourage you. It does not have to be perfect. Just get started.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And your plan will increase as you go. That's the purpose of a blueprint. The blueprint is an outline of what it's supposed to look like. But we can go back to that blueprint and make changes, add on, expand as time
Yes.
grows. But if you're waiting for the perfect moment, you're gonna miss it. This pandemic, this was the moment to get these
Yes, it
businesses
is.
started,
Yes, it
get some
was.
Yes.
connections flowing, step out on faith. I mean, honey, what are your thoughts?
Well, I really, Dorothy hit it on the head when she talked about when she was in corporate America, but she really found her purpose.
Yeah,
When she became an entrepreneur,
yeah,
she found that purpose, and that purpose, you know, thrust her into her, you know what I mean?
yeah.
It thrust her into where she was supposed to be, her divine purpose, what the plans that God had for her.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
now that she found that divine purpose, everything, it's you got the backing of the Almighty. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know how they say, well, if you have the what is it? You have the plan, then He will foot the bill.
Yeah. It's God's will, it's God's bill.
Right, there you go.
Yeah,
That's
but
good.
that doesn't mean you just say, okay, God, you pay for it. Okay. God's gonna give you some strategies to connect with people
Yes.
and so
Right.
just make sure that you're always being sensitive to how God is moving and how he's ushering you into these different places and spaces, because a lot of times it's like you want to do it your way because in your mind your way makes sense, but God's like, you know what, how about you do it my way?
Yeah.
Yes.
I also like where you at the beginning you were talking about working with your spouse, and you talk about your different roles within your business because you have multiple business. Keisha and I are the same. We have the Marriage Can Win, uh, the Marriage Can Win business to help with singles and premarital and married. But we also help them in 3 different areas: communication, finance, and intimacy challenges. And we have the financial services business as well, which fits right in place when we have couples who have issues in their finance. And so
Right.
we equipped ourselves to be licensed to be able to do that. So, and then we have to balance between that and the financial business and also the relationship business, but it falls right into place. And we kind of, we had to fall into our roles too as well. But you already had it clearly. It seemed like you guys already have your roles. Now, did that just fall right into that, or did it take
Oh,
some
no, no,
time?
no. It took a minute to get to that. Because, look,
So there was some head bumping.
I am a driver. You hear me? If we're going on a trip, let's get the car packed and let's go. And I'm hitting the gas. My husband is more of a people person. He's a happy-go-lucky kind of guy. For him, it is all about the experience and how he feels. For me, it is all about the strategy and the vision and the goal. And so, in that way, we're opposites. And when we started working this moving business together, one of the things that we just really had to, and it took a lot of communication. We had to acknowledge to each other what we felt would be the best strengths that we could bring to this business. And even though my tendency is to be the driver, I have to understand that he needs to be the face of the business, because this moving company is a customer service driven business. And what what uh what makes this moving company stand out from other moving companies is the level of service the quality of service, the quality of personnel that they're getting on the job. And so that is not my area of strength necessarily. That's his area of strength. But with him, when there is a problem, because he is such a people person and he wants to make people feel good, when there is a problem, he will look, all the money will just be given back to the customer as long as they're happy. And Dorothy is like, well, no, let's talk about this. These are the policies and terms that you agreed to. So let's review those.
Yeah.
And let's talk about options for making, we do want to make our customers whole, so to speak, but there are different ways of doing that. But my husband, with his strength being on the people side, his preference would be to over accommodate. And so being able to understand that, when there is a problem, literally the guys out in the field, they call Mr. James for everything. But if there's a problem out in the field, they will call Dorothy. But again, it took a lot of communication, but it also takes respect. One of the things that when I encourage or mentor others in marriage, I tell them that never say something to your spouse that you can't take back or you wish you had not said. That in everything that you speak to your spouse, no matter how upset you are or what happened, you have to be able to show appreciation and respect, and you have to acknowledge your spouse. And so that's one of the things that I see in many marriages is that couples, they get upset with each other and they say all kinds of things. But what they don't understand is that with each other, each one of us, we have past hurts. We have places that are still healing. We have places that God is he's not finished with us in those areas. And sometimes when we say things, it is like pouring acid into a wound that is already there. And we didn't mean it that deeply. We didn't mean it that way, but we can't take it back. We've ripped the Band-Aid off. We have tore up that wound, laid it open in the hot sun. And yes, you can get past the argument, but that deeper wound, that deeper hurt that you caused in that argument will remain. It will remain.
That's true.
And it will keep coming back up every time you get to another juncture, another argument. That person, that's your spouse, is going to speak to you through that hurt. Yeah. And so we really have to get to a point where we see our spouses the way Jesus sees them. And Jesus is not looking at all of their flaws. When he told Nicodemus to come down off that tree, he wasn't looking at his profession or the other flaws that he had. He was looking at Nicodemus's heart, and he was looking at his potential. And I think that, that bears witness also. It speaks to how we should be in relationship with our spouse. I see my husband the way God sees him, and God sees he has a beautiful spirit. He has a beautiful heart for people. And I see that, and I can appreciate that in him.
That is key. Everything you said, I just want to reemphasize that to all those that are listening. These are some great keys because being a couplepreneur, that is couples that are in business together, these are the challenges that you have to deal with. You have to always remember to appreciate your spouse, appreciate their strengths, and then also offset their weaknesses. Because both of you have individual strengths and individual weaknesses. And as you said, how you're visionary and how he's more the people person, you offset. You always do that. And I know I appreciate my wife. And I sometimes I forget to also let her know that I appreciate all the hard work that she does for us, the family, for our home. And that song, like Luther Vandross says, a house is not a home, but she makes a house a home, and without her it just won't work.
Beautiful.
In business, it's the same. She brings the piece in the business that I can't bring into that business, and I respect and I honor her for that. Sometimes I don't let her know, but I really appreciate her. so much. And she's the best partner, the partner I can have in a business. And I can also rely on her, even through the thick and thins. And, and it takes some time to get that synergy. It doesn't happen overnight, like you said. Sometimes you have to grow into it because you're not used to working together, right? Especially you both come from a corporate background, and I had more of an entrepreneur spirit, because I had an IT business a while before, and she was mostly corporate straight on, 20 years. So it takes some time to shift that mindset and then to synergize. And once you synergize, then you run on smooth sailing,
Yes.
And then when you hit rough waters, you know how to steer and navigate through those challenging waters. But that's one thing I appreciate about my wife and my business partner, and just letting her know that I love her.
Oh, that's so sweet. Sometimes you just have to walk out of the room and just be able to be mature enough to say, yes, I have an opinion and I think it's important, but right now it doesn't have to be said.
Yeah.
But when you do share how you feel, you have to respect what the other person's feel and address that issue. Because if you never address that issue, it's just going to keep coming back.
Yeah. So that's something. But I know that Dorothy is a very busy woman.
Yes.
I know that our listeners are like, okay, you said, she's dropping nuggets of wisdom.
Oh yeah, this is some good
sitting
stuff.
here taking notes now. But let's get into these tools that you were talking about. So let's go for it.
Yes.
All right.
So about 4 years ago, I had the great opportunity to be selected for the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program. And with this program, it's basically obtaining an MBA on steroids. And once a week, you take a whole day off from work. I would drive over to New Orleans, and we would be taught by some of the best and brightest minds at Babson College. And so there's some things that I took away from that program that I think are just vital to entrepreneurship. Unfortunately, many of us who are entrepreneurs, we don't have an MBA, and we don't have an opportunity to be selected for Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses. And with that program, one of the things that we were challenged to do, a main goal, was to create a 5-year business plan. And so, Dr. Shakisha mentioned earlier about having a plan. And oftentimes, as entrepreneurs, we're planning about 1 month at a time, 1 week at a time, and at the very most, maybe 1 year at a time. So the first thing I want to challenge you with, and it's close to the weekend, I want you to do this. And if you have real difficulty accomplishing this, that is a sign that you need to secure a business coach or some mentors. And a business coach, a one-on-one business coach is advisable, but that may not be something that you have access to right now. And if you don't, I say build your own roundtable. And that roundtable should include an attorney, a financial advisor, a CPA, a person with a lot of just small business experience. And there's some other folks that you need to have at that table. You need to have if you are creative, then you need to have somebody who has in that blue-green area where they're all about the numbers and the metrics. You need to have that person at your table. If you're all about the numbers and the metrics, you probably need to have 2 or 3 creative people at the table, because it's hard for you. And so basically what I'm saying is, when I say build your table, this should be a group of people whom you respect and people who care about you, who are willing to invest time in you. And you need to spend some time talking with them, sharing your thoughts, sharing your plans, sharing your goals, and give them the permission to correct you, to challenge you, to tell you when you have a great idea, and then tell you how to do it. And the best case scenario is if you can have both. If you have a business coach and you have your round table. Of course, the round table is more of an informal type setup, and it depends on how much time they can make available to you. But if you can meet with your round table a couple times a year, that would be wonderful. But so let's get back to the 5-year plan. You need a 5-year plan, and this is why. When I attended this Goldman Sachs program, they gave us some 11 and a half by 17 sheets of paper and some markers. And they said, write down, draw what you want your business to look like in 1 year. Well, I went to work, man, I filled that page up. Words everywhere, charts, diagrams, all kinds of stuff. And then they came back and they said, okay, put that sheet to the side and draw what you want your success to look like in 3 years. And then they gave a caveat, and that was this. Make sure you don't just focus on money and your business, but you focus on your quality of life. For instance, how much time do you want to spend with your family? How often do you want to take vacation? Take all of those things into consideration. So this is lifestyle, and this is about balance as well. And so I was a little slower writing down and drawing out what 3 years would look like. Because when you start talking about 3 years, you're starting to feel like you're walking on water a little bit, like Peter, okay? You're like, I don't know what 1 month is going to look like. I hope I have enough money to pay the bills this month. And now you want me to envision what 3 years was going to look like. So eventually I was able to get something on paper. But here's the thing. When you get to the 5-year plan, that is when you get outside of yourself. You are able to fully acknowledge that you don't have a clue exactly where you're going to be. And you're able to push past fears. And then you're able to put on paper what it is that you really want to accomplish in 5 years. That is the sweet spot. That's the honey pot. That's where you want to be. You want to build that 5-year vision. And then from there, and this is going to take some time. This would be a good something to do if you want to go to a condo and shut up for a weekend, just spend time on the patio and go get something to eat. But really some reflection and thoughtful time. Take that 5-year plan and then start breaking it down. So when you put that 1-year plan together, if you're new in business, your goal may have been, I just want to make $100,000 this first year. And then you got to the 3-year plan and you're like, well, I want to double that. You say 200,000. Okay. Then you say, okay, in 5 years, I will be age whatever. And you say at age whatever, I don't want to work 5 days a week and I don't want to work 8 hours a day.
Oh, yes.
And I want to have to travel, And so when you start to really think about all of that, you stop thinking in terms of doubling this, 30%, 20%, 10% increases. Then you reach out there and you start to say, I want to make $1 million annually in 5 years. And then when you say, I want to make $1 million annually in 5 years, guess what? You will get to work and you will get a lot more serious about what you need to do in year 1. Because when you back that goal down to year 1 and you ask yourself, if I want to be here in year 5, what is it that I have to do in year 1?
That's so true.
You will be challenged. It will set a fire underneath you, but also it will bring clarity and focus to what you're doing. And that's the next thing that I want to talk about. Many times as entrepreneurs, we have these great ideas for how we can expand the business because we're trying to grow the revenue. It's like it's a beast. And every morning you get up, the beast is chasing you. And you got to run faster and faster and faster. Well, I want you to stop letting the beast chase you. And I want you to turn around and speak to the beast and tell the beast, I'm a multi-million-dollar business owner. I am successful. And what I do is I create platforms to amplify your message and to elevate your influence. See, this is speaking to your purpose. This is understanding, having clarity about what you do. And when you have clarity about what your purpose is, when you have clarity about what you do, guess what? There are some great ideas and there are many things that you can do. But guess what? They don't line up with vision and purpose. And so that idea may need to sit over here for another time or another season, or you may want to sow it into someone else whose lane that is. They could take that goal and do wonderful with it. And I know as entrepreneurs, it's hard to think that way. It's like, I came up with this great idea and now you want me to give it to somebody else. Yes, because it's clutter. It causes you to get off course. It causes you to get off plan toward becoming that $1 million business owner. And so this is a tool that I use in my business. And I want you to take some notes on this. For every new project, create a one-sheeter. At the top of that one-sheeter, state what the goal or the vision is. So you say, my goal is to create a new tourism platform to increase revenue with tourism advertisers. I'm just making this up, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
After you get that goal, the next thing, and you want to put this in writing and have your team members. If you have team members, have them. If they bring you any kind of idea of significance, they need to come with the one-sheeter in hand before you even entertain it, because you want them to clearly think it through before you invest time planning it, figuring it out. I mean, sometimes that's so much wasted effort. Most of the time, if you out of 5 ideas, 3 or 4 of them, you need to take it out to the parking lot and just kill it. Just kill it. So you have your goal or your vision. The next thing you want to do is you want to build a system to support that goal, to ensure that it's going to be effective. I am a creative person. I am an idea person. I literally can come up with 10 great ideas, at least in my own mind, they're great, in a day. And a few years ago, I realized that I was burning my team out. I was running everybody else ragged because these ideas, they were good ideas and they deserved to see light of day. But guess what? They were not part of the 5-year plan. Yes, they would make money, but they were not part of the 5-year plan. You have to stay focused. And so what would a system look like? Okay, how can I ensure this would be successful? So I'll give you an idea of this. I remember in 2012 when I was laid off, like a month later, I literally became the co-owner of a magazine. And the person who owned the magazine had it for a number of years. It was very small. It was like 24 pages. It had not grown. The revenue hadn't even hit $100,000 a year. And so I knew magazines. I had been in publishing. I was passionate about magazines. And I'm like, I can do something with this. And so, I sunk in everything that I had. I put a lot of energy and effort. Man, I was working hard, but I was not seeing the return on my sweat labor, not the kind that I needed, not the kind that I wanted. And I remember talking to my partner one day, and I said to her, I said, we will have to go big or go home. And she looked at me and she got a little, I could see the fear in her eyes, because it was like, you're not going to leave me, are you? Like, you're a workaholic. Hey, don't you go anywhere. And she said, exactly, what do you mean? I said, either this will have to become a hobby or we're going to have to go big. And she said,
that's right.
She said, what are you thinking? And so I told her what my goal was. And she said, okay, I respect you and I trust you. She says, but this really scares me. And I don't know how. The numbers sound good, but I don't know how we're going to get to the numbers. And see, that's the thing. Once you have a goal in mind, you have to have a system to make sure you can get to the numbers. This is a key implementation piece that many entrepreneurs overlook. They just go to work. It's a good idea. I'm going to get up and every day I'm going to think about what else needs to be done and I'm just going to get it done. No, you need to have a system and you need to be clear about what that system was. So this is what I told her. I said, we're going to refocus every issue of the magazine, and each issue we're going to have, say it's going to be women in finance. It's going to be women in law. It's going to be women in healthcare. And I said, the goal is that we need to make a minimum of $7,500 additional each issue. This is going to be a system that we're going to use. So this is measurable, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So this is over and above where we were. So literally, we were going to more than double our income by taking this approach. That was a system. You need to build a surefire system to make sure you hit your goals. Then next, processes. It's not enough just to have a system, because every day people create systems and they don't communicate them well. Everybody on the team doesn't quite understand what their role is. The system doesn't get implemented. It sounds good, it looks good, it smells good, it smells like a winner, it looks like a winner, but it's not a chicken dinner because it didn't get implemented. You need processes attached to those systems. What are the processes? Okay. Are you still there?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, we're still here.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought I had lost you. So processes. This is what this looks like. In order for us to hit this target, and I'm making these numbers up, $7,500 additional per month. What that means is I need to sell about $2,000 additional each month. Okay, then I need to sit down and think about how many businesses realistically would actually have the money to pay for full page ads. Okay, so I can think of a few businesses offhand. So I know out of every 10 people that I pitch, 2 of them probably will be interested and 1 or 2 of them will buy. So, if let's just say those ads are $1,000 a full page. So I have to pitch at least 10 people, good prospects weekly, in order for me to hit that $2,000 goal. So this is what I'm talking about, creating processes. You need to have specific processes with deadlines that are measurable, so you know whether you're hitting that, you know weekly, not at the end of the month, whether you're hitting your target. Because see, the money is not the only measurement. Don't get so fixated on the dollar. Dollar's important, but you got to measure all the steps along the way. So you need systems, processes to support the systems. The system supports the goal. Now it's time to talk about prioritization. You may have all of those pieces in place, but you need to ask yourself, where does this fall in line with everything else we're doing right now? It may be that you can't launch this right now, even though it looks like it's going to be a winner and it's going to make money, and you need that money coming in right now. You may need to wait till June. You may say, based on what we're talking about, I can't sell that type of advertiser this time of year. What is the optimal time to launch this project? So you need to prioritize everything that's on your plate. Put it on the calendar. Make sure you have ample time to create the marketing pieces. Make sure you have ample time to develop a good marketing strategy, and make sure you got all that in place. Then Here's another one. Make sure you have the resources. Okay. So let's start back at the top. You got a goal. You got to build systems to support that goal. Then you have to create processes to support the systems. Then you have to prioritize to ensure that you're launching at the right time. And then people and money, resources. Sometimes things get stuck here if you're an entrepreneur because you're like, it's just me, or it's just me and my spouse, or it's just me, my spouse, and my virtual assistant. Your staff can look a lot of different ways than that. Guess who your staff is? Your team is this. Anybody you sold to previously, that's your staff. If they believe in your product or your services, then they're going to recommend you. Make sure they know what you're doing. Make sure they have buy-in to what you're doing, because they're going to help you sell it. Your team and your staff, when I get to the end of the month and I'm not at goal, I send a text message to a few select people and say, listen, I'm $1,200 away from goal. Who do you know need to buy some advertising?
Gotta push, gotta hustle. Yeah.
That is your team. Next thing. Your team is people that you can pull together who they work for themselves, but they're looking for monthly stable income that they know they're going to have every month. So for instance, when I started my marketing company in 2012, crazy. You do magazine, you're investing in the magazine and you start a marketing company. Yeah, let's just do that. So started a marketing company. Yes, I can design. Yes, I can create marketing campaigns. Yes, I had some social media experience. Yes, I had some digital experience. But guess what? If I am the creative person and I'm building all of the graphics, I'm not going to have time to grow the business, right? So what do? You find a graphic designer who is good at what they do, and you say, hey, if I can pay you $1,000 a month for X number of hours of work, will you dedicate that time for my business? And they're going to say yes. So don't ever say you don't have the resources. You just need to be creative about where to find those resources. There are always resources available. So then you may say, well, I don't have the $1,000. Then what? Barter, girl, barter. What do you have that somebody else needs? That graphic designer may be really creative, but they live in a cave and they don't like talking to people. And the reason they're so good at graphic design is because they're internal. All their energy is internal. So you say, well, I'm going to create a marketing strategy for you, and I'm going to help you launch that marketing strategy. We're going to barter. If you'll create these 4 graphics for me, then I'm going to do this for you over here. Barter. Yes. There's always a way.
That one.
Yes.
Barter. When Karen Cherry and I launched at Success Women's Conference, it wasn't like we had all this money laying around somewhere where we could just pull it. We were booking speakers, booking venues, booking entertainment. No, barter.
That's true. That's the way you got to do it. I like that.
But that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
So so that's your one sheeter there. Make sure you got your people and your money resources in place. See, that's the other thing. You may say, I have a great idea and it's going to make a lot of money, but in order for me to really launch this project well, I'm going to need to spend at least $1,200 on marketing, on digital ads and some other type ads, or getting some video made. And if you can't barter, if you can't get it any other way, you may need to wait until you have those resources lined up. So that's the one sheeter right there. My team, they know this by heart. They know if I have a good idea, Dorothy's going to ask me for this. Let me see the one sheeter before you set up even the appointment to come talk to me. I want to look it over, because this is what happens. Oftentimes when you go through this process, one or two things are going to, there are three different things that can happen. One, you're going to realize this is golden. I'm going to stop doing these two things over here and we're going to get this done right now. That's one thing that can happen. Or you're going to realize that there's a key piece that we can't execute well right now, or there's a blockage. And so the timing is not right. Or you're going to realize, based on everything else that we have to get done this year, this project needs to be taken off the board, or we need to kill it altogether because it doesn't line up with our overall strategy.
Prioritization.
Yes.
Yeah. That sounds good. Now, those are some great tips and some great strategies. Now, all of y'all need to be taking advantage of that. Hopefully, you have taken detailed notes. And see, as I know, my wife's strength is taking notes. That's why she's the note taker.
All right. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, I'm running out of paper. But that's a good thing, because she's dropping some nuggets of wisdom.
Yes.
So for all of our entrepreneurs, I really, really hope you're taking notes. If you are listening to the replay, please make sure you put #replay in the comment section. And don't forget to comment what city and state that you're watching from.
Yes.
But in addition to these tools and strategies that Dorothy has just dropped on us, can you take just a moment and share with our viewers what's next for you in 2021?
Yes.
Yes, I certainly can. I am so excited. I want to show you something. I hope you guys can see this. This just arrived today. This is, we have some merchandise from my newest project. It's called the Faith Inspiration Project, and we're producing a book called Living My Faith Out Loud. This is the cap. I got my t-shirt today. We have necklaces, bracelets, that will be releasing really soon. But what I want to tell you is about the Faith Inspiration Project. I have produced a number of book projects. I've helped others produce books. Obviously, I have a D. Wilson & Associates, which helps people who want to publish a book. You want to put together an anthology book project with co-authors, whatever it may be. That's we work with you on that. We help you with your marketing plans. So I do that throughout the year. With this project, I wanted to do something different, and I knew it was a God idea. I literally heard the words, live your faith out loud, or living your faith out loud. That was the phrase I heard. But I sat on this idea. It was sometime last year, like later in the year last year. I sat on this idea, didn't do anything with it. I just was thinking to myself, I need another project to work on right now. Like I need a nail in my head. But the other thing is that because I knew this one was from God, I wanted to do it right. It had to be done with excellence, had to be done well. I like doing things with excellence in general, but I wanted to hear God. I wanted to know what he wanted me to do, and I wasn't going to rush into it. One morning, I was getting dressed for work, and I heard the Holy Spirit say to me, "It's time to begin." And I'm like, I don't know what else I need to do. I know how to read the book. What else I need to do? And I came up with Faith Inspiration Project, and what it is it's a book. Live your faith out loud. It is a video series. It is a series of blog posts, and it is a small group discussion guide. So we have 32 chapters in the book, and these are people from all over the country who have written. They have shared how they are living their faith out loud. And what this book is about is, and it's not necessarily a book to help people get saved. This book is for believers, people who are already believers. The goal of the book is you're saved, you're attending church. What can you do to get outside the walls of the church to make a greater difference in the lives of others? How can you overcome your fears, obstacles that are in your way. And so you can imagine with 32 chapters, you're going to find yourself in one of those chapters, someone who is struggling with some of the same things that you've struggled with. These people have overcome incredible experiences in their past, things that have held them back, and now they're living their faith out loud. One of the co-authors, he lost his son and his daughter. They were in high school in a car accident. They were not wearing their seat belts, and he
Wow.
and his wife were devastated. And but he is living his faith out loud. He started a foundation. It's named after his children. He started a foundation where he goes into high schools and he teaches kids about seatbelt safety, about driving safety. That's how he's living his faith out loud. And so if you think that story is powerful, you need to make sure you get a copy of this book. Read it. You're going to be inspired. It's going to make you want to do more. You're going to realize that you have much more ability, talent, capacity in you to do more for the kingdom of God. And I'm so passionate about this. If you can pre-order the book. I think they're going to put the website. You can pre-order the book. It's going to release. The video series is also going to be releasing. The merchandise link, we also have a merchandise link if you want to support the project. This is a great message to wear. Living my faith out loud is a great message to share, for you to share and encourage others with every day. If you have a church, or if you're a community leader and you want to lead a small group through the book, there is a free downloadable discussion guide that will release in April. So you can read the book together and you can have weekly discussions over a 6-week period, with the goal of, at the end of that time, everyone will have made some plans about how they can live their faith out loud, louder. We will be mailing copies of this book to churches all over the country, introducing the project to them. And we are hoping that many of those churches will link hands with me and the 32 partners to help be able to take this book around the world and to inspire others to live their faith out loud. If you're interested in contributing to the project, you can go to the website there. If you're interested in wearing some of the merchandise, if you want to pre-order the book, please, I just encourage you to, I don't know what it is about me, but it's like God births these national movements in me. I didn't really see it clearly until I saw Success Women's Conference. But then when I look back, I started seeing other things. The magazine that I published when I worked in newspapers, it was called Beach Boulevard. It was released after Hurricane Katrina to celebrate everything that was wonderful about the Mississippi Gulf Coast. That magazine went on to become the best in the state. Was named best in the state 4 years in a row. I was the project manager for a book that was produced after Katrina, became a New York Times bestseller. Millions of those books.
Wow.
I walk into homes and I see that book on the coffee table and I smile, and I always have to pick it up and open it up. I just got to like see my name in it one more time. And
Yes,
so,
that's awesome.
I just praise God for the creative ideas that He gives me, and the favor that He places up on me to be able to do things like this project, this Faith Inspiration Project. I'm just overwhelmed at God's goodness, and that He would entrust me with this. And I will tell you, when you start reading the chapters of this book, you literally can read 1 or 2 chapters, and they're like 2 to 3 pages each. You'll read a couple of those chapters and you just kind of have to stop and you have to let it sink in, because you're thinking about, my God, how is it that that person overcame all of this to be doing all of these wonderful things now?
Wow, that is
It's going to challenge.
awesome.
Yes.
Now,
Thank you.
that title speaks volumes.
Yes.
Living your faith
out loud.
So for all of our listeners, make sure that you reach
Mhm.
out, you support this endeavor, support this project. The website is on
On
the
the screen,
screen,
livingfaithoutloud.com
livingfaithoutloud.com
/ faith inspiration.
inspiration.
That's
So
right.
make sure you support her, get pre-order copies of your book, order the merchandise. Mention it to your pastor or leaders in your
Yes.
ministry, and connect them with Dorothy so we can get copies into the churches,
Yes.
because we can all use inspiration, encouragement to keep going.
Yes.
Because you never know what that person is next to you, what they're going through, what they've been through, and how God can use that person to continue to pour into someone else. So these stories, when they're sharing their experiences, I'm sure it's going to be a blessing, and I'm making sure we make a copy of that. And
Yes.
we will pre-order our
Right.
copy tonight.
Yes.
So we want to thank you again, Dorothy, so much for joining us. Make sure that you stay connected to her. For those of you, if this is your first time seeing this broadcast, you enjoyed it, make sure you stay connected with us on all forms of social media, under Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, under Marriage Can Win. And if you're an entrepreneur, if you know another dynamic entrepreneur that you feel has tools and strategies that would bless other entrepreneurs, DM us or email us at marriagecanwin@gmail.com. And just a quick reminder for those couples out there that have been following us for some time, if you are struggling in your marriage, if you're having challenges, particularly in the areas of communication, finances, and intimacy, we are going to be hosting a struggling to keep the vows webinar in April 18th. So we'll be able to send you that link. Just DM us in the comments. But just remember this: as an entrepreneur, make sure that you speak your truth.
Yes.
Make sure that you be your truth, and make sure that you live your truth. Until next time, we look forward to seeing you next week. Be blessed, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.